it's the market. It's how the market works. So it's not that we choose more of ours. It's just there's more of theirs available, which is of quality than ours. So inevitably we end up having more of their content here, unless we are very deliberate and start blocking it off, which I think is also not bad. But I think it also pushes us to work harder, because if we see more quality coming, we take more inspiration. I don't think we would have stepped up our game if the Nigerians hadn't stepped up. But they also didn't just inspire us creatively. They also inspired us in the context of how they invest in their music videos. A lot of Nigerian investors started coming into the industry once they started seeing these volumes and how the growing influence of the music industry. And our local investors started supporting artists, because the truth is artists were broke, they couldn't afford. But more people started coming into the music business. So it's not that we don't care about quality. The quality is there, but we're not playing alone, we are playing with other players.
Historically, woodworking has been passed on, carpentry has been passed on through apprenticeship. So that is the biggest challenge. You learn the skill, you don't get the business skill, because the teacher wants to keep their customers. But then, due to the current development, we have the technical schools teaching carpentry. They're teaching the theoretical part, but they are indulging less business. And then the business methods they indulge in are also less practical. They have been written in books. They have not been actually applied sometimes. So I think one needs to first of all learn the dynamics. Consider carpentry as a business, as a trade. And the rules of trade are the same regardless of which trade you're going in. We have standard rules that don't change. So currently, I think it is something I personally took upon myself, and in our kind of business, we do have apprentices, by the way. We do take in students. They learn, especially through the lockdown. We've had a lot of them coming in and to take on the skill. But we always give them 1 or 2 days in a month where they come into the selling desk and they get to see what it means to actually do the sale. You don't have to be on the planer all the time, on the circular saw. You need to know that after the circular saw, this customer doesn't know it exists. How do you inform them that it is the step that is going forward on their object? And then we've opened up the industrial part of carpentry to the customers. They're actually very thrilled when they see how these things are done.
So you actually take them in and show them the process, like they say, process by process, process by process, how these things are doing. It is a Creative Industry Talk. My name is Eddie Okela and welcome to the program. This is the House of Talent Television, where we discuss everything about creativity and everything about, creative thinking. And creative thinking is in every sphere and space of business. Every business across the world needs people to think creatively about it or for it. And to create the product requires that the person is actually thinking in a certain frame of mindset. My guest this morning has been a man who has done it all. The man who has been on the scene for some time. He's a creative consultant, a digital consultant, the man who helps businesses find meaning, the man who helps the products and the brands find meaning in the marketplace. The man and only, depending on which part of the world you're watching the program from, is Geoffrey Ekongot, as is known to you on all his social media platforms. Jeff, welcome to the program.
Thank you, Eddie.
I know we want to know from you who is Jeff, and from the ancestry point of view, are you Ugandan? And if yes, which part of this country do you come from? You were most probably viewed by about 1.8 million Ugandans in diaspora who look forward to this, and many other people, about 15,000 people on all our social media platforms who are always looking forward to know the guest, and of course looking forward to a great conversation. So in a nutshell, who is Jeff?
Jeff was born and raised in Jinja, but Jeff is an Ekongot from the eastern part of Uganda, specifically from Soroti, Serere. Ekongots are a very proud tribe with deep roots all the way from Ethiopia, and with a mix of having lived in Jinja, the source of the Nile, the Nile that gave life to the pharaohs, that gave life to Moses.
Yes.
I think I have a rich background.
Yes. So, Jeff, as a Ugandan, what are the values are you Ugandan? If yes, what are the values that define you as a Ugandan?
I am a Ugandan, and I strongly believe in integrity. I strongly believe in patriotism. I love my country, regardless of all our issues that we face as a country. Every now and then you'll catch me on the side of Uganda, and essentially that's what defines me.
Okay.
Yeah, I am a creative person, and I have been all my life, both through study, but also through instinct as a human being.
Yeah. Practicing creativity and practicing communication.
Yes.
Jeff, on a serious note, we want to just take it from you. A lot of us usually don't know the creative processes. When we talk about the process of creativity, people think that they're always often tied to music, and stop with the music, or talk with drama and stops there. But creativity and the process spring out from so many and go across many other spectrum. Today we want to talk about creativity in product development. If you will take us through what product development for, as a man who has been consulting for very many businesses across.
Well, creativity in product development usually stems from the person who is thinking about what they're trying to put into the market, and how they want to present it into the market, and then they work backwards out to one, develop the product, then develop the presentation. The presentation now eventually being the packaging, all the way from the specific product packaging, but also on the shelves, how it is perceived on shelves. You see the great lengths that brands and companies go to, all the way to supermarkets, to ensure that the product is not packaged right, just the product is not only packaged right, but it's also presented right. They take people down at the last detail, and ensure that it lives the life it was intended to live.
Yeah. Is that very important, Jeff? You break something very important down. Most times as we're starting our businesses, as as entrepreneur, we often say that people who do this kind of work you're talking about are too expensive. I don't have a budget for them. I can't afford them right now. But yet you are saying the product has to be defined. It has to be in a place that when we look at it is appealing to the eyes, and when I go to the supermarket I'm able to pick it. What would you say typically has been your experience in that space of trying to get new businesses to actually adapt to these new things that you're talking about? And has it been easy?
It's not been easy. Most times, like you said, there's a cost factor, but I think the biggest issue is failure to understand what we are trying to put in the market, or to reconcile our desires between turning a profit and ensuring our product looks the part that it needs to be.
Yeah.
A big part of the scare that people have that to get to work with a great creative team to help give birth to a product is very expensive, is sometimes unfounded. Some of the best projects I've worked on, they were free, because you may find the owner or the owner behind the product really impressed it upon me that I fell in love with the idea, and I decided to invest a portion of my time in creating this product. And usually, as a creative, it's your work that sells you. You'll find very few creatives that advertise themselves, but majority of creatives earn more through referrals. So you find if you invest a lot of effort in doing some amazing work, people will see it, and when they see, they'll ask, who did this? This stands out. Who helped you with this? And eventually that's how we get more referrals and get work done. So yes, it may be expensive. Sometimes the good creatives are expensive. However, it starts with also the owner of the product investing some time in understanding how to work with creatives. The only problem is sometimes the people that put together the concepts around products are not creatives, and then they do not make an effort to understand the thought process or to value the work of creatives. But you'll be surprised. Once a creative is in their zone and they are in love with a product they are working on, sometimes the thought about money takes second stage. You'll find, I've seen creatives who have created amazing work, even like artists who create paintings, and then commissioned paintings for clients, and then they reach a point where they feel like, no, this is so nice, I can't sell this, and they change their mind. Because yes, what we do is business, but it's also art. And when it's art comes from the heart. And if someone speaks to your heart, you can do a great
amazing
job.
Stuff.
Yes.
That you've talked about, Jeff. How do we bridge the gap between the product owner who is just, I'm typically a business person, I'm an entrepreneur, I've got the money and I want to start a business. And quite often I'm very in love with my business and the idea that I have. But in most cases, I've not even thought about where there's a gap in the market that I'm trying to solve with my product. So you find that I have a product that doesn't have, space in the market, or it's not going to be successful in the market. But I just saw Jeff doing it, or I saw somebody else doing it, and I also thought like, oh, well, let me also start this thing. But creative minds, we're told, always help the client to understand, how to go about this. What is typically the process of product development according to you as a creative consultant?
Typically, it starts out by going to the end goal. Let me think of any Ugandan product I know. I've seen Gweke. I've seen they do those snacks for kids.
This is Urban Gweke is the maize.
Yes, and I think they have a variety of products within that line. So it starts out with the vision of the product creator. I am assuming the product creator of that specific product sat down and felt that they want to make a difference in the lives of kids. Many of us grew up eating these things, and these products needed some sort of modern touch to them. So if an entrepreneur like that approached me and sold me their vision, it would be much easier for me to see how a product like that can be brought to life. So the process in that case would be the vision bearer or the entrepreneur who is behind the product, sitting with the creative and impressing upon them their vision. But the problem with a lot of entrepreneurs is that you get a call and they say, hey, Jeff, I want you to design for me some packaging. Yeah. How much? How much? No vision,
yes, yes.
No story, no backstory.
Yes, yes.
You know, art is more than just what? A fee,
yes.
You know. And then the moment you say, oh, I'm going to charge you this amount, then they come, okay, remove that color, put this color. Well, there's no thought process to that whole decision-making process.
Yeah.
But products need to have life beyond just money. They need to have a backstory. They need to have some kind of vision. It's from that point of view that sometimes the creative behind the packaging and the product takes some kind of inspiration.
Yeah.
Let's assume where were you born?
I was born in Lira.
In Lira.
Yes.
So let's assume you, we're trying to relate with this product I was talking about, the Gweke product.
The urban Gweke.
Let's assume you have your own version of that. Maybe you grew up in Lira and you went to school in Lira, and you tell me a story about how, while growing up in Lira, you used to eat these specific snacks, and you, now that you're an adult, you would like to bring the uniqueness of that specific snack to the rest of the country, to the rest of the world. And your vision is to recreate that experience. Yeah. So I would, as a creative, that's something I would dig into. I would want to know, where is your home? Where is your school? Sometimes in the packaging you may find a bit of your backstory can inform the way the product packaging is done. Look at, for example, coffee.
Yes.
Coffee takes, a lot of coffee products tend to take inspiration from where the coffee comes from.
Yeah.
So a backstory to a product is very important. One of the biggest coffee brands in the world is Java. Yeah. But many people don't even know what Java is. Java is an island in Indonesia. Yeah. I think Indonesia or the Philippines.
Yes.
And they used to grow a lot of coffee, and most of the coffee that was consumed in America used to come from that place. Now, the place started being associated with coffee, like it became synonymous with coffee. So Java and coffee started to mean the same thing. Yeah. And over the years now, a lot of coffee brands have something to do with Java. Now we have
Cafe Javas.
We have CJs, we have the other one, the Kenyan Java House. Yeah. But we don't remember that Java is actually a place. So if I was to create a coffee packaging for a brand in Uganda, we have so many places. We have coffee that comes from Kasese. Yes. Kasese has its own story. It has its own inspiration. Yeah. It could inform the way the packaging is created. We have coffee that comes from Elgon, from Bududa, from the Elgon areas. Yes. And that in itself has a unique look. When you're there, the mountains, the rocks, all these places, they can inspire the creative to bring a bit of that backstory into the packaging. Yes, yeah. So products need to have some kind of depth in the way they are founded, the way they are created. And it's important that the person who thinks of an idea also attaches some kind of vision to it, not just let's sell. Yeah. Yeah. Then if not, then you leave it to the creative to think of their own ideas. But it helps. That kind of interaction sometimes forms the basis for the creative direction for product development. Wow.
I hope you are following this coming from Jeff. I think that's a very fantastic part of the show right there, Jeff, talking about the process and the story that comes in. Quite often we are just saying, I have a business, I have a plan, and you don't want to pay the creative the money. You don't want the creative to guide you. Sometimes you have a story, like Jeff has said, it's very short-lived. There is not so much to be, given or flesh, and you want the creative to bring this to life. And then they come with their own ideas, and then you find the business owner saying, no, I don't like this story. You did not capture my story. But in the first place, you did not give the creative the story behind the story, which is the thing behind the thing, which is what we call the real thing about your business. Jeff, that's a nice one. Before we take a break, we want to just, have a feel. What happens typically if a business person comes to you and they don't have a story completely? Do you have to go and start creating this story with them? Do you guide them as a creative consultant? What do you do in that process when the customer is absolutely green about what they are talking about, but you need to create a product for them? What do you do always?
In my approach, I usually have standard questions.
Yeah.
More like my frequently asked questions around product development. That includes even from brand development when creating logos. Yeah. So I have, if they don't have, everybody has a story.
Yeah.
It's just that some people don't know how to capture their story.
Yeah.
So at that moment, I'm like a brand journalist trying to dig and harvest that story out of that person if they don't know they have it. So I will ask them this set of questions. By the time we are done, they will realize, oh, I actually have a story. I just didn't think of it from that perspective. Just like now, I asked you, where do you come from? Yeah. And if I dig into your Lira origins, before you know, before you know it, which school did you go to? I mean, how did you grow up? Before you know it, then we will end up to your idea, how you got the idea. There's a whole bunch of questions that can dig us close to creating the story. Yeah. So it's not very hard. It's not as hard. For me, I usually have a default set of questions ready, and every person answers these questions differently, and that gives them their story.
Wow. And Jeff, when we're talking about this, do these people often look at the problems in the market? For example, I come from a background of product development, and product development often requires that a person, you see the gap in the market, and then you create the product to fill the gap in the market. But quite often we're seeing people now more and more just coming up with, because so-and-so is doing this work, and then, I see this looking good. I think even me, I can do this, and I can also make money out of it. And before we know it, we'll jump into this. Now, our products don't last long, and the world keeps describing Uganda as the most entrepreneurial country in the world. But sometimes our businesses that are started within that time doesn't see, the next birthday, or they don't go beyond 6 months. What do you think typically is our problem in that process, given also the background you've just given us about people just coming up with products and not being able to tell their story?
The typical startup story usually begins with like a bit of what you hinted. It begins with defining the problem you're trying to solve. Yeah. Every business must be solving a problem in society. Yeah. The problem is sometimes we are solving the wrong problems. Yeah. And until you figure out, you've got to be as authentic as you can around the problem you're trying to solve. Yeah. Because every itch must get a scratch. Yeah. So if there's an itch in society, somebody needs to, if somebody provides that scratch, somebody will pay for it. Yeah. So partly why startups fail is from the beginning when you try and solve the wrong problem. Right. It simply means that there's not enough people who care about solving that problem. Yeah. And so they are not willing to pay. People put their money where their hearts are, and their hearts are usually around their issues, or let's call it their problems. Yes. So if you're able to genuinely identify a problem, and that's where the talent of entrepreneurship is, the eye and the spirit and the feeling that this problem, this is an actual problem, and this problem needs to be solved this way. Yeah. That's what makes entrepreneurship in the end. But of course, there are also secondary problems that make entrepreneurs fail. Yeah. For example, just the lack of basic entrepreneurial knowledge. We take a lot of things for granted. For example, there are entrepreneurs that are previously career people, and they have never taken time to understand. They have no experience in entrepreneurship. And for example, if you've been working all your life, you only see business from the perspective of your office desk or from your station. Yeah. But you've never understood the inner workings of the business. Yeah. So these are the secondary kind of problems where you find you don't understand the inner workings of business, and you've never cared to interest yourself in understanding these problems. So you can't go ahead and start a business and know how to run one if you have never taken interest in in seeing how one is run.
Wow. So in summary, Jeff, you're basically saying take interest into the business you're going to start, understand first of all what this business or product you're coming up with, what problem is going to solve in the market, and is this needed? If it's not needed, why do you go for something that is not needed? Perhaps find something that is not needed. And I've had this fight between the creative mind and product owner who says, I came up with my product, this guy just doesn't understand. If he gave me a wrong packaging for my product, I went to him, I told him I want to sell my product, and doesn't understand me. So I've come up with this, now my product is not doing very well. Product Y is doing better than mine because they're packaging very well. But then you start to ask them a question, did you make the creative person understand what your dream was? The problem the product wanted to solve in the market, and how it was going to solve that problem in the market. And then they start to, now like light bulb goes in their mind to start looking at, okay, fine, I had not thought about these things, I had not thought about this, I need to fix this. Take for example, you know, you've been consulting quite a bit in the music industry.
Yes.
We've seen that the product, there's a difference between the musician and the product of the musician.
Yes.
The musician is a brand, and the product, the song, is the product. But Jeff, this has been often confused. Would you like to throw more light in there just before we go for a break?
Oh yes. There's a saying that music is 10% talent and 90% business.
Yeah.
However, because most musicians spring or start from the angle of talent, they forget to learn the other 90%
Of business.
of business. And from my experience, the problems begin when they don't appreciate the dynamics involved in business decisions, in business decision making.
Yeah.
So you find if they think that, oh, once I'm talented, that's it. And most of the problems are there. I have been, from my experience, I have seen artists who are not that talented, but get opportunities and rise up and become big artists.
Yeah.
And the ones who are very talented that we had so much hopes in, not getting anywhere because the others understood their weaknesses, but also appreciated that their talent is only 10%. So they invested a lot of effort in the other 90%
Yes.
of what it takes to be successful in the music industry.
Yeah.
And they made that effort count, and it shadowed the other 10% that they needed to be successful.
Okay.
So that's usually partly what determines success in that space.
Okay. We're going to take a break, and when we come back, Jeff and I will dive deeply about branding in the music space, and as well as, you know, what does it mean when we talk about Buy Uganda, Build Uganda? How is our product? How is our packaging? How is our branding? Are we selling it? Can we sell it across the border? Can we make money? We're hearing some trade balances or trade imbalance between Uganda, for example, and Kenya, which the figures don't match. Uganda and Rwanda figures don't match. Uganda and South Sudan and any other country don't match. And yet we have more products that these actually neighboring countries want very much. What is it that we're not doing right, and what can we do better to take our product there? Stay right there. Creative Industry Talk. We'll be right back after this break.
Of the pack. It helps you become the trendsetter. You know, humankind is set in a way that they will always have a thing for the pioneer of things.
Yeah.
So we see it, if you think about these big corporations we see in Uganda and how they advertise and the different promotions they bring, you will somehow the target market will always have the pioneer front of mind.
Yeah.
So for me, creativity, that is how important it is, because you will get the masters, you will be an A-lister on the papers. Yeah. But if you do not know how to channel, because there's not one company in the arts or in business, as we know it, there's not a company that hires more than 10 people, and all of them are not creative. There is always creativity in a company.
Yeah.
I come from the Pearl of Africa. It's a beautiful country with beautiful nature. To me, it really inspires me and motivates me. And actually, in one of my tags on my clothing, especially on my jeans, you see those lines that appear on the back pockets of the jeans. When I was doing my internship in Paris, I happened to go to a fashion museum where I read a few books, you know, about fashion designers and their names and about their creations and things like that. There are signs on jeans like the Wrangler, the Lee jeans. All those jeans have signs on the pockets. And before I went to Paris, I was doing that already because I was drawing my inspiration. I used to love geography. And the Ugandan, East African geography was really very interesting to me. You know, knowing that I come from the Great Lakes, East African Rift Valley, that's why you see those lines on my jeans. I brought two theories because they are just theories about the creation of the Great East African Rift Valley. So I put those. So it's the nature and the music that really inspires me and motivates me.
Wow. Welcome back from that break. My name is Eddie Okila, and this is the Creative Industry Talk right here on House of Talent Television. In the studio with me is Geoffrey Ekongot. He is a creative consultant, a man who has been consulting for very many brands across Uganda and across the region. And he has the authority to be able to advise on some of the things that we're talking about here. And of course, Jeff, welcome back to the program. Before we went for a break, we were talking about the, the business of music. A musician and the product is often confused. A musician thinks that they are the brand themselves, and then the product they're producing, which is called the music, which is served to the people, is often, suffering from the image of the brand custodian, who is the musician. And the packaging of the music has not been quite very good. Why do you think our music has not been packaged very good when we talk about product packaging and branding in Uganda? We've not been able to get, you find a song is very good, but the product is not very good. And then those that are packaged very well, people often don't buy them.
Very true.
Yeah.
I think we have to appreciate the music industry from a slightly wider context.
Yeah.
A very big part of our perception comes from that silent comparison between local and international music.
Yeah.
But we sometimes forget that the international music that we are constantly comparing is coming from an industry that is so many years ahead of us. They at some point they were exactly at this level.
Yeah.
And as a country, we are at different stages. And we need to appreciate that we are growing. And as we grow, obviously, we start to solve certain problems. For example, just in the last 10 years, we have grown leaps and bounds. I remember when I worked with the NTV, the first time we were trying to find music videos to put on air. And there was not anything that was of quality that could go on air. Why? Because nobody bothered to invest in the quality because there was no need. So the industry also partly grows with the need. Once the demand is there, like around that same time, when NTV came into the market and the sudden interest in global television became apparent, the artists got the justification. They realized, okay, if I invest more, then a bigger platform is going to play my music, which could potentially attract opportunities, bigger opportunities for me. So more people started investing more money in their music videos. And the same thing has happened in the last, say, 7-10 years. Budgets for music videos have gone up. Why? Because the concerts have gotten bigger. The artists are crossing borders. So the justification for investing in these big budget productions that bring the quality that we are looking for are slowly beginning to trickle in. So I think we need to appreciate that there's growth happening, and this growth triggers the decisions we make around these quality decisions, because quality comes with cost.
Yeah.
So the justifications are coming. It was unthinkable 10 years ago to have someone spend 20 million on a music video.
Yeah.
It just didn't make sense. But it does make sense now, because one, you're going to get bookings, not just in Kampala, but all over. You can do tours. They were not real tours across the country, just in Uganda. The only category of musicians who are trying to do tours were Kadonkam artists. But even those were doing what they call Biwempe tours, where they were doing village shows, which were not grossing the kind of revenues that would justify high expenses on their product. And also they were addressing audiences that had a very low appreciation of quality. They were not consuming international content, they were just consuming Kadonkam content, and Kadonkam content previously had been packaged on a lower level. So now we have Ugandan artists going to concerts around the region, going to concerts in the UK. Our diaspora is paying, is saying, come, we will pay. Our diaspora in Turkey, in what we have. So that's justification. You know that if I invest the right amount of money, and investment is not from the point of view of the artist, it's also from the other stakeholders, promoters, people who are investing in record labels. It's a business decision. Like I said, music is 90% business, and business is about deciding whether it's business worthy. Is it profitable? And profit is the bottom line around business decisions. So I think that's the dynamic. It's not that Ugandans don't appreciate quality. We do appreciate quality, but we also do appreciate business.
Yes. That if there is no business, and
if there's no business, it doesn't make sense. It don't make sense. There's an American saying that if it don't make dollars, it don't make sense.
Jeff, thank you very much for that part. I mean, we're beginning to understand the sense of what we're looking at. So, Jeff, that said, do you think we're beginning to now go into appreciating value that we are, adding to the music video, or to the music scene, or to the artist, or to the products of musicians? Are we beginning to appreciate that now? And if not, how can we better help to appreciate and to be able to buy our own? Because we're still playing a lot of, foreign music in Uganda compared to the local content. And yet we're talking about local content, which simply means that our local content consumption is not yet that good at the moment, because people don't tend to appreciate what we have. Is that attributed to the fact that this product, this musical product, or the music product we're talking about, is not being packaged very well, or there's also need for consumer education in this area?
It's not that it's not being appreciated. There are other dynamics at play. I was at the forefront of the beginning of this current phase of foreign music. We had the other previous phase of foreign music, which was Congolese music, which was had taken over our scene. And then we took it back. Then shortly after we took it back, then the Nigerian scene also invaded us. When we took it back, we were sharing it with the Kenyan music, but we were comfortable. We saw those as brothers. But the Nigerians, this is what happened. When I was working with MTV, we wanted to take our music industry to a Pan-African level. The idea was that our market is huge, but we are not talking to each other. We are in silos. Uganda is playing their own music, the Nigerians are playing their own music, the South Africans are playing their own music, and a little bit spills over, but nothing much was going on. We said, let's be deliberate about what? Opening the African music scene. And one of these ideas I proposed was that let's exchange music. So I remember I was the first to request music from South Africa, West Africa, and the first collections I got were, they had Two-Face, they had a couple of Nigerian artists. These guys,
there was the
trio, the Dibanj. There was a collection of CDs I got here, and I spread them on on the
two brothers, Peter and Paul.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I spread them on radio, and we thought we were just trying to, make our industry. In fact, there was also music from Senegal. There was Daraje. Yeah. There were hip hop acts, and they were big. I remember there was a story around that time when there was a feud with 50 Cent. Yeah. And there were hits, and people loved them, but they created another problem. They brought West African music here, and some of our music went there. But the problem we have is that these countries, we don't appreciate the detail. These countries are much bigger than us. Our population is, 40 million. Nigeria, 100 probably, 80, 90 million?
Yes.
About almost 200 million.
Yeah.
And when they start churning out music, their volumes are higher. When you release 100 songs, they've released 1,000 songs. So you're competing. So if the moment you open your markets to them, you must also be pushing as hard.
At the same level.
If you release out of 100 songs, you release 5 good songs. They've released 50 good songs out of their 1,000. So, and you're sharing the same airwaves.
Yes.
And you can't blame DJs. DJs are looking to make a name. They're also looking for quality.
Yeah.
So if they find themselves with 50 good songs and 5 good songs from Uganda, they have to play the 50 and the 5. Yeah. The ratios don't balance, but it's the market. It's how the market works. So it's not that we choose more of ours. It's just there's more of theirs available, which is of quality than ours. So inevitably we end up having more of their content here, unless we are very deliberate and start blocking it off, which I think is also not bad. But I think it also pushes us to work harder, because if we see more quality coming, we take more inspiration. I don't think we would have stepped up our game if the Nigerians hadn't stepped up. Yeah. But they also didn't just inspire us creatively. They also inspired us in the context of how they invest in their music videos. Yes. A lot of Nigerian investors started coming into the industry once they started seeing these volumes and how the growing influence of the music industry. And our local investors started supporting artists, because the truth is artists were broke, they couldn't afford. Yeah. But more people started coming into the music business. Yeah. So it's not that we don't care about quality. The quality is there, but we're not playing alone. We are playing with other players who are more numbers than our numbers.
Wow. Jeff, we're taking of that, we're going to switch the gears to Buy Uganda, Build Uganda. We've been talking about Buy Uganda, Build Uganda. I mean, Nigeria started this thing, Buy Nigeria, Build Nigeria, and it's working fantastic. Like you've said, the game of numbers in Nigeria makes it possible for them. Kenya started the same thing, Buy Kenya, Build Kenya, and which means that the first consumption rate and the first priority of the product you have is that you must have at least 2 products of Kenya in your house. And the same thing, Rwanda started it with the Nyanje when they came with water and the juice, and started, and slowly Rwenzori mineral water was phased out of Rwanda. It became something of a certain high quality value that will enter, but yet our products were entering there. They began to appreciate their own product, because the products were being either branded very well, the packaging is very well, like you said, the look and feel makes it good for a person to pick. It gives you the choice to make between this product and that product. It was always obvious. But now in Ugandan context, and which we want to basically break this down, if you would, with us, just to tell us, do we understand what does Buy Uganda, Build Uganda mean to you first, Jeff? And what does it mean to a common person out there on the street from a creative consultant point of view?
Well, from my point of view, Build Uganda, Buy Uganda stems from the idea of patriotic branding and compelling the citizens to be patriotic in their choices. However, let me dig a step back from what you were just talking about. Yeah. Kenya, how we saw Kenya really taking interest in their products, even Nigeria. We have a slightly different context as Ugandans. If you notice, like about 15 years ago, there were so many T-shirts that we would see in Kenyan videos, in Kenyan news, Kenyans wearing 100% Kenyan. You remember those T-shirts?
Yes.
And the Nigerian,
South Africa was doing the same thing.
Yes.
Okay, I mean,
so Bubu,
yeah.
that cannot stand on its own. Bubu must stand on the foundation of self-love.
Yes.
Now, by the time you start saying, buy this our own,
Yeah.
it makes sense when you already love yourself.
Yes.
But we seem to have a country, and
Yes,
so they already had that foundation. The Nigerians are proud of themselves.
Yeah.
If you ever interacted with any Nigerians,
Yeah.
you'll be amazed. Nigerians, I've met Nigerians at airports, and they can be 4 Nigerians, and you'll think they are 50 Nigerians. There's this attitude they take that wherever we are,
Yes.
we must own that
Yes,
space.
Yes, yes.
And we must own that space without apology.
Yes.
And let the world notice that we are
there. We are
present.
Yes.
So and you've seen the same attitude in Americans.
Yeah.
From their movies projected through so many things,
Yes.
through so much content,
Yeah.
from the branding, from clothing to movies to music. So in a way, when you get exposed to that attitude long enough,
Yeah.
you start to move your your mindset towards them.
Yeah.
So unless it's like a magnetic force of sorts.
Yeah.
So we don't have our own magnetic force, and we spend too much time on negativity around ourselves. I think before we even preach Bubu, we need to have a campaign around self-love to reduce the negativity.
Yeah.
Every time we see each other doing something amazing, oh, Eddie has just done this, but he's not doing this other thing.
Yeah.
But this other thing is lacking in his thing. Instead of focusing
Yes,
on the good stuff he has done,
yes.
that's what those people are doing.
Yeah.
Even the bad stuff is there.
Yeah.
But how often do you see, for example, there are street people in America. The whole world knows. Right in California, in the biggest economy in among the U.S. states, there are street people. There's those areas in Hollywood, I think, called Skid Row, where the street people are not any different from our street.
They're even worse than ours. And these hours here are better. We have food. There is very difficult.
Yeah, you go. But they keep away from that. They even try as much as possible to keep cameras away. It's only the internet today because that is enabling us to see those things.
Yeah.
But these have been there for so many years. How much attention have we given to Hollywood content? But we've never seen all of that. So I think for Bubu to make sense, and for Bubu, it needs to stand on the foundation of self-love. We need a campaign around loving ourselves and reducing the negativity. And then we can talk Bubu.
Wow. Wow. I told you Jeff was going to break this down. I already see people saying, Eddie Killer, thank you very much for bringing that gentleman into the show as a great mind. First of all, for me, Jeff is speaking to my heart. We don't have love for our country. We don't even love ourselves. Sometimes even a son and a father doesn't love each other. So to pick from Jeff is saying we need self-love. How do we get everybody to start loving the country? How do we even start? It's difficult to start. This is a question coming from you from Dennis in Australia. He's a guy who watches this show every single day and stays up. How do we start? Says we hate each other.
True.
Yes.
Problems get solved when you identify that the problems exist.
Okay.
The first step to solving one is to know it actually exists, so you define it. Now that we know that problem exists, we need the whole country to know, because so that every time it happens, you can call it out.
Yeah.
If Eddie starts saying, if I tell Eddie about someone else we both know, and Eddie starts some negative vibe, I'll tell him, Eddie, that's not, that's goes against the self-love we are trying to create.
Yeah.
If we call it out every time we see it, then we will be able to fix it. But we cannot fix it. But stage one, let's know that it exists. Let's know that we hate each other. Yeah. We're trying to all the time fail each other. You've seen the recent saga with OS Suna, Oblangera Suna.
Yeah.
The guy just said, "Oh, here is my house and here is my forest,"
Yeah.
and then the media houses, these guys, the presenters, start all this negative energy. I'm like, why? I have not seen anyone post evidence that this house actually doesn't belong to him. No one. It's just negative energy.
Yeah.
They may have it, but there's been enough time for them to present the evidence.
Yeah.
So for me, so far, any claims against anyone, usually it's just negative energy. We just hate each other so much. We hate to see each other succeed, and I don't know where that is coming from. So let's recognize this problem and talk about it as much as we can.
Yeah.
We will eventually solve it. It will eventually go now that we we know that it's there.
They exist. That said, Jeff, I love what you're saying, because quite a time we don't look into the things from this perspective. Let's talk about Buy Uganda, Build Uganda from the perspective of politicians and the people, the technocrats who are actually crafting these things. Is this information you're talking about known to them? Are they aware about Buy Uganda, Build Uganda? This is the areas that we need to start from, or this is something that is not known to them. So when they come up with this thing, Buy Uganda, Build Uganda, this is completely oblivious to them that this fact exists. And it's a big problem, and it's the hindrances towards us buying our own and building our own.
Well, I don't want to, again, sound negative.
Yeah.
But what I want to say is that most times our government doesn't initiate ideas. They usually follow private sector. And even Bubu was not an original idea from the government of Uganda.
Yeah.
But the problem is, the moment they appreciated the idea and they thought it makes sense, then they left out the people that started. I don't know whether they are still working with them, but it would make a lot of sense if they work closely with the people that initiated this idea and invest heavily in making it a reality, not just propaganda for making government look good. As usual, I mean, of late, almost 9 out of 10 projects tend to end up being PR disasters, because in the end you find there was no genuine interest in making these things happen. But if we invest more genuine interest in these initiatives, I think that's when they will eventually become a reality. So Bubu has a lot of potential, but we need a deeper interest. We need the same way, for example, the music industry does talent searches, looking for people with talent. They should be actively looking for people who add any value to this whole Bubu campaign. Like personally on social media, I follow Amos Wekesa. And this guy, I have not seen anyone who loves this country more than that guy. He's always, but I see him struggling. If I was in any way involved with Bubu on the government side, I would be sort of headhunting people like that to spearhead these kind of initiatives. Resources should be going to people like that to help expand this and bring more ideas into that space and make it happen. But they're doing their thing, he's doing his thing, and
everybody is sort of like doing
the left hand is not talking to the right hand.
And yet we expect ourselves to buy from the left hand to buy from the right hand, the right hand to buy from the left hand.
Oh yes.
Jeff, as we hasten towards the close of the interview today, we just want to talk about how can we buy our own against all these odds, even with the little that we have, because there are some people with some good products in this country that we can support. Take for example, I always use the case of Be Natural. They have been very consistent as people selling honey in this country, very consistent. The packaging is not way to the top, but they've been consistent. You can see the product. I mean, it's a product that can cross the border and can go anywhere. Even better than American honey, by far, in terms of the content, in terms of the richness, in terms of everything. But yet, it is not quite very understood, and people don't try to buy it very much. They only sell to those who know it, the niche market. And then everyone who comes doesn't want to learn from Be Natural and how they are doing it. How do we help Ugandans to build this going forward?
What we need to do is to teach Ugandans to pick, to change their decision-making process. What do I mean? Take a look at how the Western world, or Mzungus, how they give us money through donations, grants, aid. Do they do this because they like us so much? No. They do it because it is in their self-interest. If I do not help, if the West does not help Africans, sooner or later Africans will flood the West. They will be like flies in their peace and disturb their peace. Now, the same with Bubu. If we do, the idea is that I shouldn't buy, say, Be Natural because I like it in comparison to all other products. No, I should buy Be Natural because it advances my country. It advances me, whether I know it or I don't. It is in my interest that local products succeed. Not because I know this person and I'm doing them a favor, but because there should be enough evidence created to show that if we support more local products, we are supporting our own success. So it should be like a selfish decision. The same reason Muzungus and the West give us money. It's a selfish decision. They keep you. It's like I'm bribing you to stay there and not come and disturb my peace. So even us,
a friend of mine said that's the very reason behind brands.
So I should be buying Ugandan products because eventually I will benefit from it, because eventually my kids will benefit from it. If that bee natural grows into a mega honey factory 10 years from now, probably my kids will work there. So I need these things need to be extrapolated and shared widely so that we see the bigger picture. The problem is we don't see the bigger picture. We're always, so this how good is this? Where is this made? And that's where we stop. We don't see the bigger picture. Let's share the bigger picture around this whole boo-boo concept, and then we can appreciate why we are making. We won't even be asking. If it's Ugandan, we'll just be pulling our money and paying, because we know that it's bigger. It goes beyond what I'm seeing in front of me.
I want to just put the topic up there. The topic we're discussing today is Build Uganda, Buy Uganda, and of course, Jeff Ekongot is taking us through this local content development on products, packaging, and branding. Jeff, we want to focus on Buy Uganda and Build Uganda. You've talked about the products and the process of how we go about it, packaging it, and of course, the branding of these things to be able to make sense. That's another thing. Whereas I might love the country very much and I may want to buy it from the country, but I also want something that will appeal to me emotionally. I want something that will show me that they care about me. Not just, a product looks nice, the product is okay. Sometimes the products inside the packaging is very good, but the packaging and the way it's presented is not appealing. And so I feel like they say when you go to the restaurant, the aroma in the restaurant welcomes you, but the presentation of the food makes you full before you touch the food. It tastes well when the plate is being shown to you before you eat the food. Even sometimes the food may not even taste well, but because it's presented well, it takes away the other bit of it and you just eat the food. How do we help Ugandans moving forward, Jeff, borrowing from your extensive experience of being a creative consultant and all this? You've got an enormous exposure working with MTV and working with all these other guys. How do we help Ugandans to bridge this gap that, yes, you have a good product, but if the product is not appealing to me, I will not buy it?
I think a big part of that needs to stem from the technical people who are in the industry of packaging. I've come to realize that that industry has focused on those who know, instead of working with, instead of spreading the knowledge to even young entrepreneurs. What do I mean? Let's assume I'm trying to create a product that emulates the quality of packaging that, say, comes from China, Dubai, all these countries that are importing products here. Most times you'll notice these products tend to use really high-end looking colors, but the average person doesn't even know what those things are. For example, how do I ask for that same quality of packaging when I'm talking to my designer or my printer? Most times I just say, I want this. But if you know exactly what you're asking for example, if I want to apply what they call a fifth color or sixth color, like metallic colors, what the high-end brands use to stand out. Like when you hold a beer, you see that gold foil that makes it look really unique. There are those silver metallic colors that make product look international. How do I ask for this? What is the implication of printing something like that? What are the options available on the market? The options are there, but the average creator of a product doesn't even know what these options are. People don't know the basics of, for example, die cutting. People don't know why should they invest in a die cut, maybe to create a unique design. Why should they invest in unique boxes, for example? Why should they invest in for example, printing masters that contain a 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th color? Is it important? Most times once they slap you a quotation, you're like, this is too expensive. But we don't have the patience to understand the long-term benefit. For example, a die cut is a one-time cost. But it will, if they tell you this is for the cost of creating a die cut, is actually is the shape that is used to cut a label, a product label in a unique way that goes beyond the standard cuts. So if you had a custom shape,
that sort of like makes you stand out.
Yes,
from the crowd.
If you wanted a custom shape, let's say you wanted your label to appear on a bottle in the shape of a crescent crane.
Yes.
You'd have to have a die cut made. But that die cut, most times, it's just like a blade that is made once. There's a one-time cost, but no one is there to help you appreciate the purpose of this cost, so that you can invest in that uniqueness that is going to go on your bottle for a long time to come. But if these companies put more awareness messages out there, workshops to educate entrepreneurs, they would have more reason to pay that little extra, to go the extra mile to achieve this. For example, a regular master for offset printing, which is commercial printing, will have four colors. But if you want to go for special colors, you will have to have more layers, depending on the colors you want. So usually, most people think, should I go for that or shouldn't I? But there's not enough information to help you make that decision. So, but if more people are educated, then they can have reason to make that decision. The other things, for example, now there's new age printing, where even if you're just making 100 units as a startup, there's digital printing now, which can do special effects. And you can do special effects for even one copy. But a lot of entrepreneurs don't know these things. And there are so many companies here that have those printers. You can even order for 50 samples, and they will have world-class quality. But they don't know. So I think we need more awareness around product development, so that the entrepreneurs who are creating these products can make these decisions. If they don't know, but in the Western world, in Dubai, where they have these expos all the time, educating entrepreneurs, here we have them but once in a while. I have attended a few, but they are not as common. So you find a lot of entrepreneurs miss out. And mostly they're here in Kampala. You'll find them in high-end places where there's just room for 50, 100 people. But if we have more of those, I think... And
even going outside Kampala would be better. Is that what you're saying?
Oh, yes. We should have more of them. We should have them in more regular places where the small-time entrepreneurs can also go and learn about these things and be able to make these decisions.
Wow. We've limited your discussion today, and of course your commitment, your comments coming in today, because we wanted to hear very much from Jeff today. But I want to sample one or two coming from people here. This one says, Edio Killer, thank you very much for bringing Jeff. I love the discussion today. I think we should have it on part 2 of this, particularly when he talks about the education of entrepreneurs on some of this packaging and branding. Personally, when I started my brand, I had no idea. I used to think that a designer is just a guy who just designed the logo for me and give me the logo. Along the way, I've learned that it's just more than the logo that I need for my business to go forward. And if Jeff talks about this, if we can just begin to have some of these workshops, it will help very many people who are coming. I learned the hard way, and I used to go to Nasser Road and argue with the people at Nasser Road, but now I understand and appreciate. So what Jeff is saying is actually true. I think that people are beginning to see where we're coming from. And I have read another one from here. Edio Killer, thank you very much for bringing Jeff to the show. I've attended some of the training that Jeff has been conducting, and I think I love what he's saying. I wish we could have more people, go through this and try to help the younger people go through this. I'm a young entrepreneur, and it's difficult because you don't find information, and then the older guys are always trying not to give you information because they look at you as a competition, and sometimes there's no one to run to, so you are left to do your own things.
Very true.
Yes.
Very true.
And Jeff, this seems to be our biggest problem going forward. If, as we summarize the show, what would be your best advice to the young entrepreneurs, and what kind of information should they be looking forward to from a digital, from a creative consultant, perspective, borrowing from you again? You've done this, you've helped very many people, but how can we help young entrepreneurs who are coming in to know that this product I'm creating is a good product, or this product I'm creating is not going to work, so therefore I shouldn't do it? if I've created a product, and who is my target audience? Where are they? How do I get through to them? What kind of branding and marketing communication do I need to get to this? And then thirdly, you know, how do I get into this process of, you know, making people to buy my own product? Because there's one thing creating all of this thing and you get so frustrated, like you said, that the self-love is not there. How do we begin to cultivate self-love from an individual point of view as a product? If you will just, you know, summarize with that.
So quickly, from my mantra, I have what I call closed entrepreneurship and open entrepreneurship.
Yeah.
Closed is from the old school mindset that if I have my idea, I need to keep it under wraps.
Yes.
And then somehow push it secretly until it blows up and rocks the world.
Yeah.
And otherwise, they will steal my idea.
Yeah.
But this is 2021. All the world's knowledge is accessible on the fingertips, on our fingertips, through all this technology that's in our hands, the internet and all these tools.
Yeah.
I believe in open entrepreneurship. If you have ideas, share as much knowledge as you can from the beginning. And the more you share, the more you build a network. People appreciate when you share knowledge. And if you share knowledge, people are more willing to share with you as well. I know many people who feel when that sharing is revealing your secrets. And when you reveal your secrets, then you have nothing. The execution is everything. We can have exactly the same information, but how we execute it will vary. Yeah. So if you share, you build trust. If you build trust, you also build networks. Yeah. A lot of entrepreneurs start like that guy, what he mentioned, and they can't get hold of information. Yeah. But if you share information with your peers, they will be discovering different pieces of information. They will also share back with you. Over time, the sum of knowledge is a sum of combined knowledge from your peers. Yeah. And in the process, you grow. I've seen people who, for example, start products or business ideas secretly and then reveal it 2 years later, and then only to find out it wasn't going to work. But I've also seen open entrepreneurs like Amos Wekesa. Yeah. He's telling you, I'm starting with this idea. What do you think? And he discusses it openly as he goes. Before you know it, he's getting partners. Before you know it, he's getting feedback, valuable feedback that would have saved you 2 years of wasted time. Yeah. And along the way, you're getting real-time valuable feedback that in other situations would have been expensive research. Yeah. And this can build you, and this can help to test the product before you waste so many resources around it. Yeah. So stay open. That's my idea. Share more. Yeah. And don't fear to reveal what we call secrets. Yeah. Yeah, but be tactful enough and retain some that you think is your unique angle. Wow. But share and connect and be more open.
Wow. And lastly, Jeff, if you look into that camera, what would you want to leave us with today? If I'm watching this show and I'm looking for certain information, I've been listening to you talk, what is that 3 things that when you summarize and leave me with will spark the new thing in me, and I'll start from there as an entrepreneur watching the creative industry talk today?
One, share as like what I mentioned, share as much knowledge, but also read as much as you can. All the answers we are looking for are already out there. They are just a layer below or a layer above that you haven't looked at. 2, when it comes, for example, to networks, like in Uganda, there's a common saying that everybody is 2 phone calls away. It may seem difficult. You don't know who's going to help. But if you keep trying, eventually you'll figure out. For me, I always believe everybody is 2 phone calls away. I just need to know which of those 2 phone calls do I need to make. So if you grow your networks well, eventually you'll bring the 2 important people in every direction of your life. I think that's it.
Wow.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Jeff, first of all, for coming to the program today. And thank you very much, everybody, for tuning in. We want to say thank you for, sparing your time to come and actually share these nuggets of truth, to people. Experience shared is knowledge cultivated. And we say that experience kept is knowledge buried. So you have just been able to give us to be able to cultivate this, and we want to say thank you very much. As it is from us here, we always say this, and we give the love and spread the love. They say this, we have to spread the love. And looking forward to having another conversation with you. And to all of you guys out there, thank you very much for being part of the Creative Industry Talk, growing bigger and better. We have something very interesting coming up with Alliance Francaise and a few other guys to start off a completely new discussion about creative, minds in Uganda and how we can help them to be better. Be part of that conversation going on. I'd like to say a shout out to Jeff and a shout out to all of you guys out there. David Okwi, who was here last week, shared some really very interesting stuff about digital integration into our businesses, making our platform work. And of course, we'll be able to bring you another person coming up on this show. And of course, all the requests put there of whether Jeff can come back and we start talking about, the cultivating love to buy Uganda and building Uganda is something we're going to start, and definitely we'll be able to pass on this information, to you. From the crew here that makes things happen, was the camera, lights, microphone, everybody who stays, standing to make sure this thing comes to you against all odds in this process of bringing Creative Industry Talk to you. We want to say thank you. And until then, Edio Killer, Geoffrey, Ekongot, signing out.
An army of sheep led by a lion will beat an army of lions led by a sheep. That's a fake. Yes. So let's be very honest about this thing, and really understand that you need to understand where you lie and where you fall. So it's very important for us to understand that leadership has to be definitive. You can't be laissez-faire. It has to be definitive. You have to be strong, just like a lion. When a lion meets an elephant or a buffalo or whatever, the buffalo and all these animals run away. And yet, by the way, they are stronger than the lion. They are heavier than the lion. They are more intelligent than the lion. They are taller than the lion. They run away. The lion, because of its attitude, it sees lunch. That is a leader.
Mr. Tonatra, thank you very much for coming to the CEO bench. And I want to ask you, so if you were elected the President of the Republic of Uganda today, what would be your first State of Nation address? Now, as you look into the camera and close the show.
I think my first State of the Nation address would first of all to... I think I'll just close it down.
How secure is this thing, VPN we're talking about? How secure is VPN, Adrian? We're talking about it here. Like any other good thing, there's been a lot of fear that we could be in more danger, that our data is actually being taken away because, it's virtual private network. The guy who's running it is probably in Europe or in Australia or in Germany, he's anywhere in the world. What happened to my data? When I'm very busy enjoying VPN here and thinking that I've safely landed the other side, I've navigated the path, I'm on social media network and platforms, but yet my data may not be safe. You're talking about cybersecurity as an expert.
Well, when it comes to security of your data,
On VPN particularly.
As in, it's like you're communicating with someone. You're communicating through someone that you don't know.
Yes.
You're communicating through me.
Yeah.
You have an idea you want to communicate to the public.
Yes.
But you don't want to do it by yourself.
Yeah.
You want me to do it for you. So if you don't trust me, is your data safe? Maybe you answer yourself.
Yes.
Yeah.
I don't know whether my data is safe. Yes.
It depends on the trust you have with the VPN
Yes.
solution provider.
Yeah.
Because definitely, if they have their agent,
Yeah.
which picks the information that you want to broadcast from your browser
Yeah.
or from your applications
Yeah.
on your phone, definitely, you know, when we're installing applications on our phones, they'll ask you, do you want me to have access to your contact list? Because you'd wonder, how do these guys actually make money?
Yes, that's another question.
Yeah. Because I have access to your phone numbers and your contact list, I can sell that information. I have access to your device. I'm seated in your house. I know where your bedroom is. I know where your bathroom is. I know where your kitchen is. So I can use that information for my own. But as I'm also doing your job.
Yes.
That's why we always...
So it's really not free.
It's not free.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not free because these VPN guys, of course, they have a lot of access to data. And data is gold.
Yeah.
You know, if for example, Truecaller wants data about probably contacts for people, they could go to a VPN guy and tell him, okay, we need, in Uganda, we need to know all this number belongs to this one, this number belongs to this one, so that we can use that information, load it into our server, and make our application work better. You will not know. But they will sell the information at millions of dollars.
Has a bit of complication, but it's intriguing.
Yes.
It's designed that way.
Yes.
Okay?
Yes.
It may be a maze, but there is order to what appears to be disorder.
So that is Pastor Semper.
That's Pastor Semper.
Yes.
And that's actually the work of God, a complex.
Yes.
When God does things, He does them fearfully and wonderfully. They're amazing when you look at them. So people like you said, they want to put a dot where there should be a comma.
Yes.
And they want to keep you only in one place. People like to say, Pastor, why are you now entering into politics? Why are you now commenting on it? Pastor, now for example, yesterday some fellow on Twitter was complaining, I forget his name. He complained about a woman who tweeted that she's got 6 dildos, electronic dildos, okay? And she was saying, these are, can you imagine, I can have these and I have no threat of STDs. So now one of my followers complained and said, you know, man, how can we even compete with these things that never run out of energy? And now there was a growing falling out of people saying, man, we are really
being taken down, these things. But you're a human being, you're not electricity.
Exactly. But now,
and the system was never created for electricity.
Exactly.
Yes.
Now, normally I don't go very much into issues of sex and but if I have to, I will. Because I represent a thinking of a biblical way, and people see me as a role model. So I remember that back in I think about maybe 2019, they released a report, and this is a scientific report, that showed that couples, that is man and woman who had sexual relations and exchanged fluids, were happier. Women who had sex and exchanged sexual fluids were happier, and they examined what is the sexual fluids from a man. What are the chemical components? They broke them down. One of them, they call it a happy hormone called oxytocin. Now oxytocin is a happy hormone. When a woman receives oxytocin,
yes,
she gets happy.
Yes.
It's only released during sex with a man,
yeah,
or when she's breastfeeding, yes, a baby. Those, yes, are 2 times.
Yes.
And it makes her happy. Why do women, why do they bond with their baby, love them so much? Yes. Because there's a chemical release that God has designed. So when I release this research, yes, to this guy, I say, guys, don't worry, you are not, there is not even a competition. Those women there, they may use those gadgets, but they are still miserable still. Long after they have run out of batteries, because they can never have, yes, yes, what God put into you. And guys were happy. Yes. Because you see, when God gives you a mission, yes, to bring happiness to you, between you and your wife, yes, He equips you with the capacity, yeah, to make her happy, which cannot be found in a dildo, yes, or in a machine. And, yes, by the way, I sometimes like to point this out to those who are practicing same-sex relations. Yes, yes. You can't have that. Yeah. You can't have that. No, no, no. Lesbians, homosexuals, they do not have that. It never comes, that chemistry. Number 2, even in those who are doing, these feminists who are doing masturbation, yes, whatever, you can't get those hormones. So I sometimes say the reason why some feminists are continuously miserable, yeah, because they have never sampled the happy hormone. Can you watch it again? No embarrass at all. And Pastor, I have a very interesting message here from Diwato Chom. He has said, and I'm going to read sample your questions from out there. Yeah. This is coming from Iduat Ochom, is a serious lawyer in town, land rights lawyer, yeah, and with a fresh master degree from Swansea University, just returned. Swansea, yeah. England. Yes. Well, hi, how you doing?
Hello, welcome to this edition of You and the Law. My name is Jonathan Ochom, your host. You and the Law is simply what it is, you and the law. In this show, we try to demystify the law for the ordinary person, make it simple for a teacher, for a lawyer, for a farmer, for a doctor, for a boda rider, for a cleaner, everyone in our society. This program touches on every aspect of our lives that relate to the law. Is it marriage? Is it property? Is it land? Is it traffic? Anything that touches on the law will be discussed in this program. Today, we're going to have an interesting conversation that will focus on the institution of marriage. I know most of us have attended marriage functions. Some of us are married. Most of us viewers are married. But what does it mean to be married? How does the law look at marriage? So this conversation today will focus on demystifying the whole topic around marriage and how it is viewed from the eyes of the law. And to help us do this, I have a learned mind with me, and it's none other than my friend, my colleague, Emmanuel Elau. Emma, you're welcome to the program.
Thank you so much. Hello, viewers. Thank you for having me on the show.
In House of Talent, when you fist bump, you spread the love. So you do this, then you spread the love. Yeah, so Emma, how have you been?
Well, I've been great.
Yeah, we're coming in from 42 days of a lockdown. How has it been on your end?
It's been quite difficult. You know, you wake up in the morning, you sit around the compound, you look at the time. You know, you lose sense of the calendar because you fail to understand which is a Monday and which is a Sunday.
You're even lucky that you have a compound. Some people live in one-bedroom houses, yes, and have nothing to look except their, iron sheets.
Yeah, sure.
And really, you're our first guest really on this program. And why do you think it's sort of important for people to just know about the law? Because I know you've been teaching law and practicing law for all these years. Yeah.
Yes. Well, thank you. You know, when it comes to the law, we basically live the law. You know, on a day-to-day basis, you know. Whether it is in your bedroom, there is a law that governs it. If you're married, for example, even if you're single, there could be something touching on the law. Because you might be in your bedroom with an underage girl, or you might be with another person's wife. You know, all the things are the law, you know. When you jump on a border, there is law. When you're driving, we're talking about traffic. You know, if you go to a restaurant, you must ensure that you have the money because you're consuming someone's energy and investment. You know, so you must be able to pay for that. So we interact with the law at all times.
It's part of our everyday life.
Yes.
Man, you don't want to be in trouble after many years of working hard only to realize that you have no rights at all simply because you didn't celebrate any of the marriages that are recognized within the laws of Uganda. With that, we come to the end of this edition of You and the Law. It's a bye from us. See you next time.
It is a CEO Bench. My name is Ekongot, and my guest this morning, or this afternoon, or this evening, depending on which part of the world you are actually catching the CEO Bench from, is Irene Esther Mutuzo, a young girl springing out from the suburb of Kampala, Uganda, the capital city of Uganda. And of course, going around the world and doing many things across the world. She's a lady on a rise, the young lady on a rise to the top. And with about 25 nominations to come to the CEO Bench, we of course have Irene this afternoon or this morning or this evening on the CEO Bench. Irene, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, and it's such a pleasure to be here.
You're welcome.
Yes.
And we just want to know, who is Irene Mutuzo in a nutshell? Are you Ugandan? If yes, where do you come from? What are the values that define you as a person?
Okay. So Mutuzo Irene Esther is a Ugandan. Yeah. I come from Kisoro. I was born in Kampala, particularly Mulago Hospital. I am a firstborn of two very great parents, my dad and my late mom. We are four in our family, that is me and my siblings. I love people. I love to speak. I love to write. In my work, I work as the head of business growth and PR at Liwala, which I'll be talking more about. I also love to write poetry and perform poetry. The values that define me, well, I'm a Christian, and I believe that our lives are sort of like a masterpiece that God has built, and we are here to serve. So for me, it's more on godly principles, things like humility, things like forgiveness, things like listening to others, treating others well. So those are the different values that define who I am. And hard work and learning, continuous learning, being humble to always know that I don't know it all. So I need to learn.
Wow.
And there's always something to learn from someone. Whatever category they are at, whatever class they are at, there's always something to learn from everyone.
Wow. Well, welcome to the show. This is Irene Mutuzo, who is our guest this morning on the CEO Bench, or this afternoon, this evening, depending on which part of the world that you're watching the show. First of all, I want to take this opportunity to welcome everyone all across the world, all our brothers and sisters in the US, those who are staying up late to catch the CEO Bench. And of course, Dennis is in Australia, and of course, Professor Penny Nachayo, the Assistant Professor for Design Communication, Washington University. Welcome to the program. I hope we'll be able to put everyone to sleep. And Irene, what a moment and a journey that we're going to have this morning. I want to just take you straight to the story of Irene Mutuzo. Growing up, did you ever see yourself being where you are today?
Honestly, no. and I'll tell you, and I like to share this story because, you know, it defines me. So growing up, I actually used to struggle with stammering. And even to date, on the days I'm not mentally prepared, you'll notice that I will stutter a lot, or I will have a lot of long pauses in between my sentences, because those have become my coping mechanisms. And I remember in my S1 at Navisunsa Girls School, I'd actually, you know, going in, I'd got into the debating club, and then I realized that I loved to speak. I could actually speak if I put my mind to it. And I actually made an impression. and I was given an opportunity to read the news on a Monday assembly.
Okay. At school?
At school.
Yeah.
Well, I practiced and practiced, and I went to read the news. I get to the podium, and I don't know what happened, but I froze. I literally froze and kept stammering and stuttering, and for lack of a better word, it was a disaster. And I walked away from that podium, vowing never to speak in public. Least I embarrassed myself. Yeah. But I remember, and a couple of weeks later, I kept shying away from public speaking opportunities until I told myself, you know what, I can let this define me, or I can rise up from it. Yeah. So I kept, I went back to debating. I went back to learning how to speak. I got into speech competitions. Did I win them? Not really, but I kept getting better at it. And even today, I'm getting better at it. Yeah. And I always share that story because now in my adult life, I literally speak every day for a living. Wow. And even in my previous roles, I've been in marketing, I've been in PR, I've been in communication. I never ever thought that's the path I would take. Yeah. But things happened. I always thought I would probably be an engineer or a doctor. Yeah. Then somewhere in my S6, then that's when I realized, okay, I love to speak, so I thought I would be a lawyer. Yeah. Then I realized that I want to understand people, and I love to understand people. Yeah. So I get into psychology, and then I realized that there's a lot more about people to learn from and to share and communicate. Yeah.
Wow. Irene, let me take you back a little bit. For all our guests and rather viewers viewing the show from all across, the world, and people who do not know you very well. As a young girl growing up in Uganda, you earlier on stated that you spring or come out from, Kasese.
Kisoro.
Kisoro.
Yes.
So
I'm a Mufumbira.
Yeah. So if I'm watching this show and I want to know what happened in Kisoro, and this girl I'm seeing now, all nice, beautiful, put together, but I don't know where this Kisoro is, which part of the Uganda is this place from. Take us a little bit back about your journey from childhood and the ancestry of Mutuzo.
Okay. So I won't lie. It's not that I grew up in Kisoro. Yes, yes. No, that's you could say that's where my village is. My village is actually on the border of Rwanda and Uganda. Yeah. So that's where my village is. But I grew up in. I could say my parents had very humble beginnings, and as a firstborn, I saw that. So we went from a one-room apartment in Kasubi. It wasn't even called an apartment, but I'm just saying the word apartment. So I saw my parents really work hard and go to where they are, and that also sort of had an impact on me. And for me, when I was in school, I just always wanted to do more. So I was one of those kids that was everywhere, just trying to do more. Even when I wasn't good at some things, I just wanted to learn and do more. Yes. And particularly, I could say my work life began when I was about 14 years. I was chosen to be part of a group to begin a pull-out, then called Teens, at New Vision. Okay. Now that pull out
Teens magazine, the publication, the New Vision, the publication that comes out of it.
Yes. Okay. Now it's called Swag, but then when we were starting it out, it was Teens. Yeah. So that's how I began my work journey. So at first it was, something you do, you like. I would keep sending in articles, I would keep writing. Then in my S4, I had some time on my hands, so I went in and I was also helping out with the editorial work. And then I grew in my writing, I grew in my communication. Then, particularly in my S5, S6, then I was the president of the debating club of Navi Sensa Girls School. And we had, this dream to have the biggest debate ever. And we kept trying to look at, which person we would invite as the guest of honor. Yeah. And one of the people that came to our minds was Mr. Robert Kabushenga.
Yeah.
But because, you know, he was quite popular that
then
time.
He was the CEO.
Yes,
of
then
the
he was
Vision
the
Group,
CEO, and he was quite popular.
Yeah.
And, you know, one of those people that is very difficult to get.
Yeah.
We were quite scared on whether he would even come. So we even had a plan B.
Yes.
Now, because I had been at New Vision writing, my friends thought, oh, now, Irene,
You are here?
yeah, here you can get this done. So, yeah, so I was put on a mission to get Mr. Kabushenga to come and be our guest of honor. And I remember taking that letter with our patron.
Yeah.
I thank God he wasn't there because I was so nervous. And yeah, but he responded to the letter and he came. And when he came, you know, indeed the debate was really big. It had all this coverage. And he was so impressed with the organization, and he told us, you know, the cabinet can come and work at New Vision, like voluntary work.
This is the debating cabinet of the Nabisonsa Girls School
in Maya.
Yeah.
So yeah, we ended up having could say VAC job. And you know, when VAC came, my friends were like, okay, Irene, Mr. Kabushenga promised us this opportunity. Please go and ask. so being bold, yes, we did go and ask him, and he was very open, and he made sure we got those opportunities. And I remember him telling us that if you work hard, you'll actually get full-time jobs. Yeah. So we worked hard, and we ended up getting full-time jobs. So I was at New Vision for about 4 years, and throughout my campus life, I was actually working at New Vision. Then in my third year, now when we had to do the usual internship, I also got an opportunity to intern at the United Bank for Africa. Yeah. It was meant to be for 3 months, but I'm humbled that they liked the work I was doing, so they kept me on for some more months. And that particular year was tough, very, very tough.
Why do you qualify it as very tough year?
I was juggling school as a finalist, and you can imagine I had exams, I had a thesis. I was still at New Vision because I felt it wasn't yet my time to leave. Yeah. I still wanted to learn, and then I also had the internship. So my day looked like 8 to 4, I'm at the bank. After 4, I ran to New Vision. Then I was doing evening classes. So at about 7, 8, I'd then take a bike to class.
Wow.
And yeah, and that was my day. That was.
So which campus was this?
It was at Macquarie. Yes, yeah.
All right.
Yeah. But I'm glad that, you know, I went through that season. It taught me resilience. It taught me the ability to juggle a lot of things. Yes. I learned so many skills. Yes. So many skills that I would later use in my year. Yes. I'm glad that I didn't fail at any of the things. Yes. I actually passed, and even in school, I was on top of my class. So it just pushed me to work hard because I knew I didn't have time. Wow. Yeah.
Irene, I mean, hearing your story, you sound so mature at that age. You sound so very organized at that age. And we often don't find people within that age bracket that would be very organized and very sound to be a little bit more astute in what they want, looking at what they want. How old were you, and where would you place your ability to be that organized, to be that very, you know, what I would say, upright in the mind, that you know what you want to do, you know how to get it, and you're stuck to that point of saying, I will do it. How old were you, and what was your driving factor, to say the least?
Well, I could say I was about 19 to 24, yes. 23, yes. 23. Yes. I know I wasn't organized.
Why do you say you were not organized?
I was just trying to figure out life, and I thank God that all these opportunities came to me, and I grabbed them as, like, you know, sometimes opportunity comes to us once. Yes. And I believe, I'm a firm believer in nothing happens to you
by accident.
By accident. Yeah. And God has a reason why that thing is happening to you. Yes. God has a reason why He's putting you in that space. Yes. God has a reason why He's putting certain people in your life. Yes. So for me,